Here we are, folks. Finally, we're an hour late, but here we are. So just checking. So anyone who wants to join, I'm not sure I can do any chats here, but we're live. We are live. I'm hoping you can hear this okay. Otherwise, we'll have to dub it later. So here we are. It is. I'm going to give you a quick look around. So here we are on beautiful Port Phillip Bay. My daughter over there. Port Phillip Bay is an interesting place. This time of year, there is lots of people out and about and doing watercraft activities, and that's not without risk. So today we're going to talk about risk. So here we are in Port Phillip Bay, and today we're trialing. So you can imagine risk management. Imagine having fallen out of this kayak 6 times trying to get in on a choppy start, and to build your own outriggers and test them for the first time in a live stream. How good is that? So, of course, it has to be called risk management. So today, we are going to be talking about risk management. So here we are in Port Phillip Bay. It's a beautiful, sunny day. So what do we know about risk management? Well, in terms of risk management, we need to talk about a few things. So in cybersecurity, risk, of course, is quite pertinent to everything that we do here in cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is covered. The ISO 32000 series is the international standard for risk management, and ISO 27001 is the information management system that we use to increase and improve our maturity. So that is quite pertinent because clause 6 of the ISO 27001, of course, covers the risk management. Now, in ISO 27001, we do plan, do, check, act, and we work through the plan and establish, implement and operate. That's some of the other clauses, and we get to clause 6 with the risk management as part of planning. Then we get to maintain and improve, and then monitor and improve. Monitor and review, and then maintain and continually improve. So they're the phases of ISO 27001. So now we're kind of, when we're in a kayak, there are certain risks we have. So we have our bilge pump. We've got a bilge pump here. We've got a paddle float. We've got our outriggers on today. But one of the things in an inflatable kayak, there are some things that you probably need to be careful of. So if you're doing squid fishing in a inflatable kayak, the spikes of the squid jig are rather sharp, and these in inflatable kayaks don't go together very well. So what we have to do is, firstly, in risk management, we identify the risk. Then we move through, assess the risk. This would not go well. I was going to have to adjust here because I'm drifting out of the not pointing, so orientating your kayak into the wavefront from 110,000 jet skis reaming up and down the coast. So when you're in a kayak, obviously, so we talk about assess the risk, identify the risks. This could be bad, severe, could be highly critical, likelihood, fairly common. It could happen, so we have to be careful of it. So when we look at that risk, so we're assessing the risk. So what can we do? Okay, we can apply a control to the risk. So we can add a little bib so it doesn't get stuck in the kayak. And we can put it on our rod and toss it around. And another risk is having the squid squirting in the face with ink. So always carefully onboarding the squid as well. So this is an example of risk. So what we do with risk management, I'm just emptying the water because I onboarded quite a bit of water when I was getting in. So we identify the risk, we assess the risk, then we apply the control. So we've got a little bib that we put around the sharp hooks so they don't put a hole in the kayak. And then we then have a process called treating the risk. We put the bib on, and then we make sure. So once we've identified, assessed, treated the risk by applying a control, then we can safely fish for squid in a kayak. But that's not all the risk. So there is consequential risk, there is contingent risk. So consequential, inherent risk. So inflatable kayaks have an inherent risk that there could be a hole put in said inflatable kayak. Then there's the consequential risk is if we did control with a squid jig, then we would, of course, have some problems there. However, that's not all. The contingent risk is another risk that blows up sometimes. So if you don't consult the weather and you all of a sudden head out and you find that the wind gets up to 20 knots, and so if you weren't in the kayak with a consequential risk of a squid jig, then the subsequent contingent risk of the wind blowing up all of a sudden and capsizing your kayak, well then, if you went in the kayak in the first place, that's contingent on those other two things. So when we look at risk management, we have to assess risk from all these different aspects. So that's really quite critical. Got a bit of a big pleasure craft moving through here. It's got putting up a nice little 1/2 metre bow wave. So with my outriggers. So one thing is, of course, as a person with a 6 in front of their age, going in Port Phillip Bay and having a medical incident could be quite critical. So once you've assessed and identified, assessed, treated your risk, there's the ones where you tolerate the risk because, you've got to get out and enjoy life. So you tolerate the risk of going in a kayak. But also, we also transfer the residual risk. So residual risk is what we transfer with transfer pricing. And if we've got a good Victorian ambulance subscription, well, then we can have, the occasional helicopter ride is forgiven if you have a very healthy private insurance cover and an ambulance subscription. So that's it for risk management. What we're actually doing is we are actually identifying. So NIST identify, kayaking with NIST today, another episode. So in NIST, we would identify all our assets, all our software, all our hardware, and soon all our cryptographic bill of materials as well for PQC. So identify is always part of that. So as you move through the risk management phase, identify is where it starts. You assess the risk, we treat the risk, we apply controls, we tolerate the risks that we want to accept. And then from there, we're good to go if we've got good insurance and transfer price, the rest of the residual risk. So that's it from our beautiful Port Phillip Bay today. I'm just going to, maybe I should give you another quick little whiz around. We've got the beautiful Mount Martha in the background over here. You can see the beach boxes in the distance over my shoulder here. We've got the beautiful headlands down here, well appointed with lots of, this is the Mount Martha headland. You get too far around across the range. Yeah, my outriggers are working pretty well. So over this shoulder, you might be able to see the headland in the background over there. So it's really cool. I'm going to get back into the wave so I don't stress my outriggers too much. But I am very impressed with my outriggers, I have to say. Home built, watched a few videos. The other thing I said, in Port Phillip Bay, it can get quite cold at certain times of the year, and other times of the year it can be quite heavy currents. So if you fall out of a kayak, so having the outriggers is a really good thing for a person my age. And this is a touring kayak with an outrigger, so it paddles pretty fast and sleek through the water, but it's a bit tippy if you don't have the outrigger on. So I built the outrigger over my holiday project. So big shout out to everyone. I'm hoping the audio is working here. I've got my headphones on, so pretty sure it should work. And hoping everything's going well. Feel free to drop a comment. I'll probably wait to get back to comments later. So I'm going to sign off now. If you like my channel and you do like watching me do crazy things in kayaks and with live experiences, you can buy me a coffee, and the buy me a coffee link is up the top there. And so happy new year, everyone. I am absolutely excited about 26, and I know that all of you would be too. So got to sign off now. Over and out from Peter Lake, QR5. If I can get my, here we go. Here's our outro coming up, and we'll sign off now. And yeah, if you like the stream, buy me a coffee, and we'll talk soon. Thanks. Bye.